Now, here is what he told them to do. And this is the prophecy, friends, that you would never believe was possible. You'd never believe it possible. He said, when you see Jerusalem surrounded with armies, then you know that it's about to be desolated. Well, now that seems possible, sure, but let me tell you what is the impossible part. Jerusalem surrounded by armies. He said, now when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, you know it's about to be destroyed. That's going to be the end of the temple. He said, at that time, I want you to flee to the mountains. Now, if you're in Jerusalem and suddenly the city is surrounded, how on earth are you going to flee to the mountains? Because the army won't let you out. Here's what happened. For 40 years, the Christian people held on to that prophecy. They saw the earthquakes coming. They saw the persecutions. They saw the plagues. They saw the famines. They saw the wars. They saw the gospel going to the whole world, and then they knew the time was getting close, and then they saw the Roman army come around Jerusalem. Now, the Romans didn't really have to come around Jerusalem, you'd think, because they already controlled Jerusalem. Jerusalem was a colony of theirs. So why on earth would they want to attack Jerusalem? Well, friends, one of the Roman governors did something that the Jewish people got upset about, and so they rebelled against him. And so an army came down and surrounded Jerusalem. Now, however, could the Christians get out? They couldn't. And then, friends, the most astonishing thing happened. The most amazing thing that you ever heard of. The army was there and they could have done anything to that city. And suddenly they just withdrew away from the city. And the historians tell us that they withdrew for no known reason. Did that sink in? There was no reason for them to withdraw. They surrounded the city, then they withdrew. Jesus said, when you see Jerusalem surrounded, then get out of the city. He knew this was going to happen. What happened was the zealots inside the city threw open the gates to chase the withdrawing Roman army. And while they were away, the Christians saw the sign, they went out through the gates, and they went across out of Jerusalem to a place called Pella on the other side of the River Jordan. And they escaped because they were listening and waiting for the prophecy. Then the Roman army began to come back, and Jews from all around the neighbouring villages, they all poured into Jerusalem where they thought they were going to be safe. And then came the Roman siege of Jerusalem, and it went on and on and on until famine broke out in the city itself. And then finally the city itself was destroyed. 1,100,000 Jewish lives were lost. 1.1 million people died in that siege. And thousands more were taken slavery. Now, Jesus did say that they shall not leave one stone upon another. Now, if you go to the ruins of any cities around the world, you'll find plenty of stones still joined onto each other in those ruins. Jesus said that will not be so for the Temple of Jerusalem. Not even one stone will be joined onto another. Now, why on earth would the Romans want to destroy such a magnificent building? Do you know, friends, that the Roman general Titus actually told his soldiers, do not touch that building. It's one of the world's wonders. Don't put a finger on it. And if his orders had been fulfilled, Jesus' prophecy would have failed. Roman soldiers always obeyed their master. They were disciplined soldiers. But friends, in the siege, the Romans had got so mad at the Jews that now they were so angry when they got close to the temple One of them actually picked up a brand of fire and he threw it into the temple. And soon the massive cedar wood was ablaze and the curtains were burning. And they fought their way into the area, right up the stairs. A lot of Jews who had huddled into the temple, thinking they'd be safe, were slaughtered, and their blood rolled down the stairs. And the temple was ablaze. And friends, there was so much gold in that temple that the Romans were so greedy to get for themselves that they literally worked and laboured and toiled to get rid of every crack, to get the gold that had gone down into the cracks between the stones. And to do that, they had to move every stone. And not one stone was left standing on another. A prophecy fulfilled to the letter. And those that weren't killed were taken out to be slaves. There were so many of them that they cluttered the slave marks of the Roman Empire. And the prophecy was fulfilled. And the prophecy had also said that this hillside would be ploughed like a field. And you know, the Romans actually hated this city so much after the long siege that had just tested their tempers, that they got a plough to go across the city and plough it like a field, just exactly as the prophecies had said. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that wonderful? Okay. And Jesus then said, "Then shall be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world to this time. There followed then, friends, a tremendous persecution against Jews and anyone who actually thought they were Jews. And because the Christians and the Jews both kept the same day, the Romans slaughtered both of them. And that was one of the reasons why some Christians, close to the capital city where the persecution was, switched their day of worship so they would not be recognised against the pagans. And so they would not be thought to be Jews. That was one of the two reasons why that happened. One of that reason was a reason of hate, you see. Because great tribulation was coming upon both Jews and Christians. And the Roman Empire and its successor, after the empire collapsed, began to perpetuate this reign of terror. And people who had Bibles were slaughtered and their Bibles were burnt. And Jesus said no one would be left alive unless those days were shortened. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. And two things shortened those days. One was the Reformation, in which half of Europe broke away from the ruling system. And the other one was the opening up of America as a place of refuge for refugees who were being persecuted in Europe. Those were the two ways that God used to shorten the persecution time. And so here we have the seven signs that were given by Jesus that would be omens of the destruction of Jerusalem. And then he said following that would come a period of great tribulation such as the world had never seen before, nor would ever see again. And that period went on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years until the 16th century. Long, long period of persecution. There's been nothing like it in history. And there's no more time left for it to be longer like that again, although it will get bad in the future. And it's estimated that up to 100, it varies the figures, between 50 and 120 million Christians were killed during this time. There's never been anything like it. Greatest time of tribulation ever known in history. But it was cut short